Was it clear from your college days that you want to go for masters in UK and LSE?
Back then, it was a mandate that your education journey should not finish at graduation if you want to really do something in life.
Was entrepreneurship at the back of your head always, that you will run your own, something of your own?
I say that you were on a roller coaster, and it was not you who was going. It's the guy controlling the roller coaster that you're going on that journey.
You called your parents, it's like, now whether I continue here to become a partner or I have to do something else. So what was the decision you took?
For me, the sabbatical was that, okay, let's go back home. I've been in a hostel all my life. So let me, for once just go and spend time with family. Kunskapsskolan is the only school that has a continuum of all three boards. That is because, we believe that education, if it has to be personalized, a child should have the opportunity of choosing their pathway.
And you are at Masters Union. Any reflections on us?
I think this is what India needs.
Hi, this is Ankur Vora, Intersect by Masters Union podcast series. Today we have with us Mr. Kunal Bhadoo, the Executive Director and Co-founder at Kunskapsskolan Schools India. Kunalji, what an honor to have you here with us at Masters Union campus. Having visited your schools over the last so many years that I have been traveling and doing outreach, I think Kunskapsskolan schools have been a revelation in the Indian higher education space. And the school education space, in higher education space, because we have got so many bright students from coming out of your schools, joining our universities. My own experience at Ashoka and OP Jindal, and now at Masters Union, we have been always very, very proud of the kind of students that have come out of Kunskapsskolan schools. Some of my best friends, principals come from Kunskapsskolan schools, and especially, I've been hearing a lot of good things about you, and I'm happy that you are here today with us.
It's a pleasure. And I've heard a lot of great things about Masters Union, and I think we seem to share similar ethos, which is that we did something that was very disruptionary 14 years ago. And I think that's something very similar that I hear the work that you people are doing. And, ultimately, yes, there are a lot of questions that are raised by society about how things can be, but there are very few people who take the risk of grabbing the bull by the horns and addressing those things. So we did a small effort many years ago, which parents really supported us. And, this is where we are across India now, more than 5,000 students across our campuses. And I think I see a similar story building with Masters Union.
Thank you so much for your kind words. And absolutely, Kunskapsskolan Schools story is an inspiring story for all of us at Masters Union as well. And we will deep dive into that. But before we do that, your own story, we would love to know more about your own personal journey a little bit. The early years of Kunal growing up, the city that you grew up in, the kind of schooling that you had, maybe some family values that have carried through all those years, from school to college to now the person that you are today. So, sir, if you can share some of your early years.
So, the other day, I got to know that there's another venture that your promoter is working with, which is the TETA. Which is generally students spending, their life.
Yeah, it's a 7-country program.
So I guess I probably had like a TETA moment in my early life, which is, when I was just 6, I come from a small town in Punjab called Abohar. That's what my hometown is. I come from a family of people associated with agriculture. Abohar is famous for kinus, the citrus mandarin variety, and we have farms of kinus in Abohar. Abohar is called the California of India. Unfortunately, I think the aspirations that my parents had for me, there were no great schools there, and the trend generally was that you end up going to boarding school. So I went to boarding school at 6 years of age.
6 years?
Yes,
okay, so early.
In grade 1. And that was a convent of Jesus and Mary, Hampton Court. And then I went on to, so that was a prep school till grade 5. Subsequently, I went on to Mayo College, Ajmer.
Oh, wow.
And my final 2 years of schooling were at Delhi Public School, R.K. Puram, in Delhi. And I always tell people when they ask me about my Kunskapsskolan journey also that I said, all these 3 different schooling system influences had a great impact on me in terms of, ultimately what I did in later in my life, which we'll talk about. But so yes, I think the school.
So
journey,
boarding school throughout.
Yes, throughout boarding school, and then after that, I had, in fact, at the time, this is way back in '96, when IILM, which is another private player in this space, they got a affiliation with the University of Bradford, and they launched their BSc Honours Business and Management program. Yeah. And I think, '96, generally, this sort of thing was like very unheard of, that a foreign universities, full program here. I mean, there were skeptics, there were this thing, but you can say that, it was a startup moment for them. And, I deep dive studied what it was and took a calculated risk. And I said, yes, I mean, we were the guinea pig batch, I say, but I think it turned out really well. Hats off to, the people at ILM who were visionary in bringing this sort of thing way back then. Yes, today's date, the world is full of opportunities.
This is almost 30 years back, 96.
And subsequent to that, I had the privilege of getting admitted to the London School of Economics in a Masters in Finance program. And this was more of a roller coaster. I mean, this wasn't planned. I think it was destiny. And while I was completing my Masters, I called my parents and I said, what do I do next? And they were like, if you have to learn farming, I mean, with a person of your intellect will possibly take about 15 days to master everything that is there. Yes, and then it's a lot of hard work after that. But we're live and kicking. So, if you're out there, just go and get some exposure. And PwC, had come there for like campus hiring, and they picked me up. So I landed my first and only ever, job that I've done in my life was with PwC.
So let's pause here. For our viewers, I just want to a little bit more about the UK journey of education, LSE especially.
Okay.
So was it a conscious choice? Because LSE is a prestigious college, and you will have worked hard to get into that program.
Yeah.
London School of Economics. I mean, so tell us a little bit about your motivations. Was it clear from your college days that you want to go for masters in UK and LSE? And so what was that trigger?
What was the trigger? See, I think back then, a couple of factors actually. Back then, it was a mandate that your education journey should not finish at graduation if you want to really do something in life. So, you had to kind of, go for a master's. Very different abroad. You do your undergrad, you work, you do something, you find your spike area, and then you go and do a master's in, right? Here there was a different trend, so I think we were just programmed at the time that you have to finish your journey with a master's. Now, having said that, LSE was something, I think both ways if I look at it. I used to always admire it for, the kind of alumni that we used to hear, because, that's something that makes, something impressionable that you see that, okay, you had, at the time, we had our president, Dr. K.R. Narayanan. He was an alumnus of this thing. Dr. Manmohan Singh, was associated with LSE. And LSE had, some really big name. Dr. Ambedkar, the founder of our constitution, he was an LSE alumni. So, so there was something about this that intrigued me. And, LSE's, coat of arms, if you look at their motto, it's something in Latin. It says, Rerum causas connoisseur, if I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But it's a Latin phrase, and it basically means, finding about things the reason to be. It's kind of like your quest that you like to go deep behind to understand the meaning of things and appreciate the finer things in life. And that was something that was, I've always been that sort of person who likes to kind of, deep dive, to create kind of, new things, be like a architect of new ventures or a new way of thinking. So I think that's what.
So even then in college days you were like this. That you wanted always.
Yes, I mean, I was always kind of thinking out of the box, question the status quo, see if there's a better way to do what we're doing. So, that curiosity is kind of, lived in me all along and even now.
Amazing. And then now we can come to PwC, and I think you were mentioning that you joined PwC in UK.
Yes, I worked in the London office. I started in the millennium year, the year 2000. And it was a great journey. And I also qualified as a chartered accountant in the UK while working with PwC. And I had a stint as with the assurance and advisory services, where I had a lot of top banks as my clients, investment banks and retail banks. So, JP Morgan, Barclays. I once had the chance of even providing services to the government regulatory scheme. They had the financial services compensation scheme. To working also in corporate finance, where we were doing advisory for governments in the infrastructure space. So I guess that was just something that was a great time. I was there for exposure. So I wasn't really kind of didn't have my blinkers on that I have to reach somewhere, but it was like just get to learn as much as I can. And somehow I, in that journey, also saw myself getting pulled into training and mentoring and helping out, and that's something that would give me like an equal kick, if you would say, as much as numbers gave me. That's why I went for a career in finance, and it was a great journey. I think PwC, as I said, is the only organization that I ever worked for. Because after that I became an entrepreneur.
And how long were you there at PwC?
So at PwC, I spent about nearly 6 to 7 years.
6 to 7 years in London office.
Yes, in the London office, and I got to the level of a manager. And yes, that's the time that I then spoke to my parents and I said, now my life needs a bit of direction. So either I'm going to just put my head down and work my way to the top to become a partner, or if I have to do something else, then now's the time.
Now is the time.
And they said, it's really your call. And somehow I think...
Was entrepreneurship at the back of your head always, that you will run your own, something of your own? Was it in your head from early on, or was it like it progressively as your career progressed, let's say PwC 6 years, that you realized that maybe entrepreneurship is my path?
See, actually, just this morning I was speaking to someone, and how in today's date we are so much talking about kids, for even with school children, your focus area, or the spike, or things like that. Yeah. I mean, to be very honest, in our times, I don't think there was this kind of exposure. So I always tell people, in fact, there's a thing where I say that you were on a roller coaster, and it was not you who was going. It's the guy controlling the roller coaster that you're going on that journey. Another example I tell people is like, they say, oh, you swam really well, and you beat the rest, and I'm like, who pushed me in the pool? I didn't know how to swim, right? So I think both these analogies really, what I'm trying to say here is that things happen. I think I'm a great believer of destiny, and a great believer of that someone up there has you're part of a larger design, and you will reach there. And I think everything that you're doing before that or whatever is just preparing you for that journey.
I agree. Radhe Radhe, Hare Krishna. बहुत सुंदर बात. So then I mean, so let's come back to PwC. You called your parents. It's like now whether I continue here to become a partner or I have to do something else. So what was the decision you took?
So, I think I spoke to my partners at PwC, and PwC had a very good system then that, if you'd done a number of years, you could take a year sabbatical. So, while I mean, that was more for, if you look at the Brits, they love traveling. Yeah. And, so the idea was that at that point in their career, when they're getting to manager, they will kind of, put on the backpack. They've got money that they've saved. They'll go and travel the world and then possibly come back and settle down in life and, pursue their second innings. For me, the sabbatical was that, okay, let's go back home. I've been in like sort of say a hostel all my life. So let me, for once just go and spend time with family.
In Punjab?
In Punjab, in India, and, explore how things are here. And when I came...
So you came back from UK to India?
So I came back for a year. I still had my job there. And my partner said, go and try out. Well, I mean, people go traveling. Yes, you're going traveling to your own country. Doesn't matter. And then things, when I came here, that time, 2007, 2008, a lot of things were happening in India. India was like, that was one of an unprecedented...
So the flywheel was beginning to move.
And things just, started like clicking, and I just got married also recently. And then I asked my wife, I said, so where should we be? And, she was also neutral. And I think we just, on my hunch, I said, okay, let's try it out, right? Let's try it out. If it doesn't work out, what's the worst thing that can happen? I can always go back. I mean, if not PwC, some other company. So I stayed put in India. And then it was also trying to figure out that, okay, what am I going to do? So should I join another corporate consultancy or something here, or do something on my own? And a lot of what's happening in the education space, at that time, I remember there were like, experiential learning, or, these sort of buzzwords you were hearing in school education at the time. So I started exploring this space.
And 2008, 2009, yes, absolutely correct. And then, I worked at Ashoka and OP Jindal. 2009 and 2010 was the inception years for Jindal and Ashoka also. So, yeah, absolutely correct. A lot of new things were happening.
A lot of new things were happening. And, Educomp was a big player at that time.
Yeah.
They were like,
very big.
The market's favorite, the stock market's favorite, the school's favorite. What they done something was very, very disruptionary. And I happened to meet Mr. Shantanu Prakash, out of interest that I shared common interest in education. And he at the time said that, they were, expanding and doing many schools. And I just kind of said, this is an area very close to my heart. I like it, but I said I have absolutely no clue how a school is run, what has to be done. The best thing I have is I've been to school myself, to good schools, but nothing more than that. And, he gave me an opportunity to, just understand with people in his team in terms of, what it was.
So may I just take pause here? Why education? Because you were working in PwC. Was there an inclination for you that you want to be in education?
I think if I look back, intrinsically what I felt at the time. See, I told you I come from a small town in Punjab, right? And at that time, at least I can say, I think places like London are where anyone aspires to probably go and live. And I did that for, I got the chance to be there, to live there for 7 years, right? Experience things there, life in general, professional culture, professional life. And I guess there's nothing more, really. As far as that aspiration is concerned. So I guess, life comes full circle.
That was done.
And you say that, okay, you've You've seen what it is. I mean, you got a chance to work at one of the top companies in the world, work with top clients of the world who are, masters in their field, studied at the best of universities. And then, there was this thing that I think you need to share this back, share this experience back to the community.
That's why.
I was fortunate enough to probably, as I said, sit on that roller coaster. But if you had to give back in a structured and planned way, so that as many people can benefit from the journey that I took, and so I guess that possibly was a calling.
Absolutely wonderful, wonderful. So now you are met Mr. Shantanu, and then you were having this conversation about schools, and so you.
So yes, the school space. I mean, when I just started to just deep dive and look into schools like this, I mean, there was a lot of energy that I saw, and a few other people who then had schools. So I just started visiting and seeing that what schools were like, and I used to keep traveling, to and forth to the UK even after I'd just come here, and that's the time. One fine evening, I had just picked up a newspaper, and the newspaper had a report that the British government had called upon Kunskapsskolan to work with 5 or 6 schools in the UK, and that really kind of caught my eyeballs, because I said, well, I mean, the British education system prides itself as being what it is, and if they are bringing in an outsider to look at some of the schools, there must be something really adding value that they're trying to do that, and it just got me curious, and I started researching and knowing a little more what Kunskapsskolan was, and what I happened to kind of deep dive into it was just something which was really God sent for me. God sent, why? Because when I started exploring the school space, the idea was that what kind of school that did you want to conceptualize? You said that, okay, I want to have a school, so what? And there were 2 dimensions to it, mainly, I mean, multiple dimensions, but one dimension being that if you have to prepare children to be successful in the real world out there, so, the real world can be a PwC, the real world can be entrepreneurship, the real world can be, you working in the public sector, anything, the real life. So how can you actually develop those skills in children right from their school? Because when we were in school, the focus was academics, the focus was extracurricular activities, but no one was talking skills, because no one talked skills in the time that, good old days that we were in school. But now the world was talking the language of skills, and so I said, how do we really get kids prepared for this? The second dimension was that how do you make education enjoyable? How do you create motivation in children to be self-regulated learners? That you're doing it for yourself, you're not doing it to please your parents or under some sort of pressure. And as I told you, 3 different schooling systems I saw. The missionary system was very nice. At that age, children need the love and care. You're like a single child, of your parents, the center of attention. Suddenly you get thrown into a classroom with 25 others where you have to share space, and you're not the most important person. Yeah. And, a nurturing environment that kind of, is able to transition you from that journey to, I said, a school like Mayo College, which really shaped me and made me a warrior, a problem solver. I tell my son that, I said, you're very privileged, that what your generation in today's day experiences. I said, Mayo College was one of the most prestigious schools at the time. Yeah. Yet, I said, when it came to summers, we only had fans in our dormitories. And when it became peak summer, Ajmer being in Rajasthan and being where it is, there were nights that we spent with wet bed sheets, draining out the excess water, taking them over us. So, that was like our Jugaad AC, the fans air filtering through that, and, that's how we would sleep. Um, so Mayo was, had a great impact on me in terms of, just really seeing that, the buck stops at you, right? Fight it out. You got to survive. You need to, and DPS RK Puram, at the time was obviously, even now, for its academic excellence, academic prowess, you had tons and tons of people getting into IITs and all sorts of top colleges. So I said, how can you have a school that combines the best of all worlds,
all the experiences,
right? And combines, this whole that today's day, the relevant education that we talk about, the skill based, and at the same time, there was also this quest. I said, but when I had my fellow students, we all shared different interests. I mean, there were certain common interests, but there were different interests. So I said, okay, how can education be personalized? That I get to do or I get to learn in the way that I want to learn, right? I don't have to rush through, or in something that I want to spend more time with, I can do that. In some things, if I'm good, I have the opportunity in my school to go higher rather than just be bored and sit out there and just wasting my time for the class to get over. So there were all these things, and when I started to learn about Kunskapsskolan, I mean, it was just as if God had crafted something and just put it out there. But I think what you read and what you experience can be different. So I sent an email to Kunskapsskolan. I said, this is me, and this is, I'd love to kind of, speak to you. They replied back after a few days, thank you for your interest, this thing. I thought, maybe a Scandinavian company working in the UK, I mean, how much would they care about India at this point in time? To my surprise, one fine day, I got another email, which was that, okay, they set up a time of a call. They said, okay, we want to speak to you. And
this was which year?
This was the year 2010.
2010.
Yes.
Okay.
And I got a call from the family founder's daughter, who was also the CEO of the company. And we had a long chat about, understood each other, what I was thinking, what I wanted to do, and they shared what they had. And they did say at the time, they said that 6 months ago, someone from the government had come to Sweden, and they came to know about us, and we came to India to explore. They said, yes, you should set up. We came, but nothing happened, and then we went back. So I said, well, we're looking at a private sector initiative. It took us 2 years to really understand that this was right and how we did that. So there were 2-3 trips that they came down. They visited India. Okay. I got them to visit a number of schools here to see what school education was like. They invited me to Sweden. I happened to visit different parts of Sweden, right from Stockholm to suburbs of Stockholm, to see what the Kunskapsskolan program was and what kind of students it was producing. Proof is in the pudding, and I think we were convinced that this was just about the thing that I was very sure that this is something that we wanted to do. And the beautiful thing is that the program, the Kunskapsskolan education program, which was there, this was obviously with the Swedish curriculum. And the beauty of the program is it is very curriculum agnostic. You can fit in any curriculum into it, because
any curriculum
because it is more it's the how of education than the what. I mean, what boards tell us is more so the what. Yes, I mean, IB or Cambridge, have a little bit of a thing about the approach in general, but broadly, I think they tell you this is what has to be taught, and it's really down to you how you teach it. So it's the how. And I happened to, at the time we started deliberating that, okay, how should this go ahead? I mean, what board should we choose? And I was lucky also at the time that the family promoters of the Manav Rachna group of institutions, they were family friends, and we just got talking one evening. I said, this is something that I'm planning to do, and they were very excited about it. They said, "Oh, this sounds great," and I said, "Do you want to come on and be part of this?" And they said, "Why not?" So that was great. I mean, to have the edupreneur in me with this thought, with the vision, what had to be done. People who are, grassroots into education, who sort of, understood compliances and, how things had to be done on the ground. And then you have have someone who's an architect of a great educational program. And we deliberated and we said that, see, Kunskapsskolan vision, even in Sweden or anywhere it works, is not as a very elite school. The founder's vision was that, this concept was founded on the premise to benefit maximum number of people. And there's an interesting story also how the KED program actually came into being. And, rewind to 1999. So rewind to 1999 when the first school started. So Mr. P. Emilson, who's the founder, he's one of the top business advisors to a lot of companies in Sweden. And at the time, I think even their conversations used to happen that what you study in school is not relevant to later.
the real world.
And he kind of I think was again someone who grabbed the bull by the horns and said, "Let me do something about it." So he took inputs from academia, from business leaders, from everyone, saying that what is it that you guys want in terms of your human resource? What kind of people, what kind of skill set are you trying to recruit? Took that, went back to the drawing board, got a team of educationists and said, guys, okay, you're teaching them the science, maths, languages, social sciences, that's okay. But I also want you to teach this. And then the challenge was that, okay, but you've got finite time in school. You cannot kind of extend the school day to, also teach this. So then they decided that, okay, let's interweave what has to be taught in such a way, let's develop the curriculum in such a way that while learning this, they are also developing skills that are actually required. So that's the history of the Kunskapsskolan education program. And, fast forward to 2010, we decided at the time that if we have to look at India and developing, India's human resource at a large scale, it has to be the Indian national curriculum that we cannot ignore. And it was beautiful how we took the CBSE curriculum and intertwined it with the KED program.
Okay.
So a lot of people ask me that, okay, how does that work? So I say, for something abstract, always hear a conversation of two people. So at one time, I heard a conversation of two people. A parent of Kunskapsskolan was explaining to a prospective parent of Kunskapsskolan, how the school day is like, and the other one was still, it was kind of just going above the head. And, I think the person was a little, he said, see, actually, you know what? Kunskapsskolan does CBSE the IB way. So, so he said, nice, if IB is a very international, focused curriculum and, this thing. So they're doing CBSE the IB way. So I always tell people that, okay, if there's someone who does not really understand, I
think this is the most easiest way to
this is the easiest way to this thing. But I think, that's how the journey started. And,
so the first school was established
in 2012.
In Gurgaon?
In Gurgaon, and we had a terrific response. I mean, I have 275 families in the first year for something which was absolutely new. It was like, as I said, as disruptionary as what you were trying to do. But we had those parents, and they became our ambassadors subsequently, because when they experienced what it was, and generally the word spread, and I think we were full capacity in just 2 years. And this then started getting interest of other people. So our next school um, happened in Lucknow, and then subsequently in Bangalore. Uh, we have two branches now in Gurgaon because Gurgaon was expanded. So there are a few other interesting things about Kunskapsskolan, especially in Gurgaon, that I'd like to put on record.
Please do.
That uh, Kunskapsskolan is the only school that has a continuum of all three boards. So when we talk about personalized education, as a student of Kunskapsskolan in Gurgaon, you can go through any of the three boards: CBSE, Cambridge, IB, right from the early years, right till grade 12 or ASA levels or the IBDP. So that is because we believe that education, if it has to be personalized, a child should have the opportunity of choosing their pathway. And the KED program, in terms of how we do things, is the common thread that binds all these three different curriculums. So this was great, but I think there's another thing that I'd like to mention, which is extremely satisfying for me. So I told you I come from a small town in Punjab called Abohar.
Abohar.
I've been a DPS Arkipuram alumni, and just before this Kunskapsskolan thing happened, my parents were always after me. They said, if you want to give back to the community, start from where your roots are. And I spoke to the Delhi Public School Society, and I said, I want to start a school. I want to start a DPS. And they said, but Abohar is like a tehsil. It's not even a district headquarter. We don't have any schools that we've given in smaller towns. And I requested them, and so I think even today, DPS Abohar has the rare distinction of being the only school in the DPS society that is not in a district headquarter. And so while the infrastructure for that was developing, Kunskapsskolan happened. And I just, in my conversation with my Swedish partners, I said, well, I'm coming up with this. I know what we've done here, what we've achieved here, and this was very disruptive. But I said, ultimately, when you're looking at people, human resources, I mean, everywhere people are the same. It is only different exposures and opportunities that they get, shape them. And I said, I'd like to implement this KED program in Abohar. And I think people, generally my members of staff here, were a little kind of shocked. They said, will it really work? I mean, will teachers in a small town really have that mindset? It's equal to how if today you say that, okay, I'm going to launch an IB school in like a really, really small town.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Say, they need, so it was that moment. But they were game, and they supported my idea, and we started the Delhi Public School Abohar with the Kunskapsskolan education program in it. This is way back in 2014-15, and very great to see how it kind of shaped up. So the educators, everyone, so the skeptics thought that things would not happen. The educators stepped up so well. The students and families stepped up so well. Obviously, at the time, people were, so we have this thing called the Learning Portal, which is a digital resource, which is a cloud-based resource that we use. And to access it, obviously, you need a device. Now, imagine way back in 2014, in a small town, where you hardly even have like the internet in a lot of places. And Abohar is like, it's a mandi town. So it's a small trading town with like an agricultural, rural economy around it. So our kids were like from all over, from town also and from the neighboring villages also. So, suddenly having like tablets to access your curriculum, using digital planners, things like that. I mean, it was just overwhelming for a lot of people. But essentially, what I always tell people is that if you say that you want to prepare kids for life, right, you have to prepare them for the reality which is there. Even in today's date, I get a lot of parents being concerned about digital devices and things. And I'm like, well, I mean, today you're talking about AI. You want your kid to be AI proficient. Tell me, how is that going to happen without a device? Right? Yes, you need to. In fact, we had a Swedish headmaster who came in when the school started in Gurgaon, and I used to have a lot of conversations with him. And one conversation that I will highlight, which was around something similar, and he said, "See, we cannot promise as a school or as an institution that no issues will ever happen, that you will be foolproof." Right? I mean, that cannot even happen with machines, let alone people. But we as an institution stand for a fact that if an issue happens, we are there to listen and make a sincere effort to resolve it. The second thing that he told me, he said that if, all the vices that you have in the world, right, you're trying to keep kids away from them. Yes, I mean, and the strategy that we use is that, okay, that's really bad, don't go near it. But he said technology is not a vice, that some parents kind of, just get a little just too defensive with technology. He said, if you let kids adopt technology, and as a school, you can teach them how to use technology in a regulated way,
wisely.
it will not have that impact. Another interesting thing that I want to tell you about Kunskapsskolan is that when we started our school, so it had we had the Swedish architect who designed the school, and for the first time you had a school that inside how the infrastructure was, that it had no walls. I mean, there was glass used everywhere. And when we had people who were there, who would kind of see it when the infrastructure was coming up, they said, oh, kids are going to get distracted, there's glass, they will see people coming in, coming out. And the architect said no. He said, we've been doing it for 20 years. Yes, you will come one day, you'll find it very interesting, you'll be distracted, oh, there's someone next door there. The second day a little more, the third day you're not going to bother about it. So what that glass is doing is that it is creating a sense of openness. It is bringing in natural light. It is creating a sustainable, your energy costs are going down. So it's doing a lot of good things. But just because you would step back and say, oh, well, kids will get distracted, which they aren't. So you should not hold yourself back from doing these things. So yes, it's been an interesting
Amazing.
journey, as I said, with all these things. And recently, even with Kunskapsskolan, we are set to become the first IB continuum school in Lucknow, and in fact in the entire state of Uttar Pradesh.
Uttar Pradesh. Oh, wow.
We will be the first IB continuum school. In Abohar, that again I talked to you about, we launched the Cambridge curriculum last year. So again, it's a small town. I said, why not? And again, when I launched it, this was again me, that watershed moment where people were like, well, people are still very traditional, this thing. And to our surprise, we had half our kids switch from the national board to Cambridge. People are aspirational. And that's what I say, that we should not decide on people's fate in terms of, how people should be. People are smart enough. If you have to prepare them for tomorrow, if you have to prepare India for a global space, right, that we talk about innovation, we say that, okay, we should just simply not be copycatting what's out there in the West. We should have our own unique solutions. You have to have a mindset there.
Wonderful, Kunalji. Amazing story. I mean, your work, Kunskapsskolan, and then the Abohar story is amazing. I mean, that full circle movement, you really are doing that. I mean, I have not heard about Abohar, but now that I have heard about the DPS story and the Kunskapsskolan story, and then now Cambridge also in Abohar, I mean, that is the most inspirational thing. Kunskapsskolan is transformational, bringing them here, and what you said, I mean, the universe conspires to get the pieces in place for you. I think we have really wise piece of advice for our youngsters here also. And you are at Masters Union. I mean, and you just had a brief interaction with my students, and you saw a mela that is being hosted outside. Any reflections on us and our students?
I think this is what India needs. I mean, to have this mindset of creating something. I mean, there was someone talking to me how they're developing a solution, trying to develop a solution for schools for to help teachers. And I asked him something. I said, just few days ago, Claude kind of had this update, and it'll probably render a lot of businesses out of work. And I said, by the time you develop something and try to apply for a patent, you'll have someone who's sort of come up with like a similar product. And so I said, just the scale of disruption. But it was good to see his resilience. He said that, yes, that may happen, but I'm going to build a very superior product that will be solid and very fundamental, and I will have relationships with the school. I will invest myself with the school so that ultimately, not only the product, but the overall experience they are able to get. So I think
that is, just to add context, that is Suvansh, our third year undergraduate students, and he is building that product for teachers, helping them in curating their lesson plans and exam papers as per the curriculum that they are following. I mean, amazing guy. Just in the third year of his undergraduate program.
Just in his third year. But I mean, it's great to see the kind of work that is happening here, and we'd like to obviously see this. I don't know how many students you actually have who are from non-metro cities, but
a lot of them. Yeah.
But I think that is also where that's an underserved part of the country, I would say, where there are very high aspirations but little opportunities like this. So great to see if.
Let's hope we find some ways to collaborate and deepen our collaboration. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out and being here with us at Masters Union.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.